This rod was one of the only remnants of the ship to survive the explosion. It was fished out of the water and presented to Admiral Nelson.
We know that Nelson was very fond of this object. His house was completely full of artifacts from battles. It was full of portraits of himself. It was full of paintings of battles. But he kept his lightning conductor by the front door. It was the first thing that you'd see. Now, because it looks curious, I think it was a conversation starter. People said, "What is that? Why have you got it?"
And the conversation continues among scientists today.
I've never seen one which is so blunt. I can't see there's any reason that could have happened in an accident. It looks like somebody has bent it in that fashion. Maybe they had a good reason for it. I don't know.
Modern lightning rods are sharper. So just how effective was this unusually shaped antique one? That is our museum's secret. Our investigation begins at the University of Manchester's High Voltage Lab.
Lightning is likely to hit anything that's tall and anything that's sharp. So if you have, say, a tree, if you have yourself holding an umbrella, if you have a tall building, all of those things could be hit.
The electrical field around tall and sharp objects is intensified and attracts lightning strikes, including, of course, a mast at sea.
Lightning can be 200,000 amps, which is a huge amount of current. It's about the same as 20,000 electric kettles. It's only there for a very, very short time, but it can blow things apart and cause massive damage.
And for the wooden ships of Nelson's era, the threat was even worse.
There was obviously a huge problem with warships because they were made of wood, but also because they were full of gunpowder. If you think about HMS Victory, when she was first commissioned in the 1770s, she had 42,000 pounds of gunpowder on her, which is the equivalent to 25.5 tons of TNT. Now, that gets a bit messy if you get struck by lightning.
In 1752, the experiments of American inventor Benjamin Franklin proved that a sharp, pointed rod could be used to attract lightning. But 50 years after Franklin's experiment, the French were still using their own blunt-tipped design. Which brings us back to our museum's secret. How did the blunt lightning rod compare to the sharp lightning rod? Today, Ian will test this for the first time.
You guys got any gaff tape?
This generator will send 1.1 million volts to a hanging electrode, which represents a cloud. Ian is placing the rods at an equal distance from the cloud.
I think what will happen is we'll see that the sharp lightning rod attracts more lightning than the blunt one. And I think we'll show that the French were probably wrong. But they didn't have the knowledge that we have today, that the sharp lightning rod intensifies this electric field around the tip.
That's 2 strikes to the blunt rod. The rods are swapped around to make sure the test is fair. And 1 strike to the sharp rod. Ian is surprised by the results.
And the blunt one again. Before the tests, I would have assumed that every single lightning strike we saw would have gone to this rod, compared with this rod where there's no real sharpness to it. But obviously, this one must work. Otherwise, you wouldn't see the results that we just saw in the lab.
So the French were onto something with their unconventional design. But one question remains. Why was Nelson so fond of this particular piece?
Nelson may have appreciated that lightning conductor because it was a reminder of the shockingly violent and merciless assault that he launched on the French at the Battle of the Nile in 1798. You see, they had this piece of maritime technology which would protect them from nature's wrath, but they didn't have anything to protect them from the British.